everyone, welcome to Botany Insider, and in this lecture we would be studying the complete detail of nitrogen metabolism. That is, we would be understanding about that what is nitrogen, what are its essential functions, and also we would be understanding all the things about its assimilation and also about the root nodule formation. So let us start with the basics. So talking about the basics, so nitrogen, it is one of the essential elements for the plants and it is required in the greatest amount. And if we consider the complete statistics of the nitrogen present in the atmosphere, it is approximately 78% of the atmospheric air, and except for that we also have oxygen, which is 21%, and the remaining 1% is the other gases. Also, the nitrogen is the building block of the amino acids, and these amino acids are synthesized when the inorganic nitrogen gets converted into the organic nitrogen. What is the process of its conversion? We would understand it in the subsequent slides. And we know that proteins are made up of the amino acid. Let's move forward. Now let's talk about the constituents. So as we have seen that nitrogen is one of the essential elements, so it is found in many of the important constituents in the nature, as it is found in the chlorophyll, cytochromes, alkaloids, vitamins and the nucleic acid. We have already studied about, you can watch out the previous lectures. And the nitrogen plays important role in growth, reproduction and heredity. So we can make out from here that how important nitrogen is in the nature for the growth and the survival, and reproduction is one of the most important or only crucial process that helps the survival or that helps the continuity of life on earth, because if there would be no reproduction, there cannot be the continuity of species on earth. And in reproduction, nitrogen plays a very important role. Hence, nitrogen is a very important element. So now let us look at the source of nitrogen to the plants, that is the sources by which the plants obtain the nitrogen. The first and the most important source is the atmospheric nitrogen, that is the molecular nitrogen. Then we have nitrate, nitrite and ammonia in the soil by which the plant uptake nitrogen, and among these three, nitrate is the chief source of nitrogen that is taken up by the plants. Then we have amino acids in which we find the organic nitrogen and it is obtained from the soil. And also we have organic nitrogenous compounds in the bodies of the insects, and as it is present in the insects, and we know about the insectivorous plants, so some of the plants obtain their nitrogen content or they fulfill their nitrogen requirement by the help of the nitrogenous compounds that are present in the bodies of insects by digesting them. Let's move forward. So let us look at the simple conversion by which the nitrogen is available. So we have the nitrate getting converted into the ammonia. Nitrate is written in molecular form as NO3-, and as it gets converted into NH3, that is ammonia, there occurs a reductive process. And also nitrate is the oxidized form and the ammonia is a reduced form, and as there occurs the conversion or the reduction in the form of nitrogen, hence it is a reductive process. And in this conversion of nitrate into ammonia, there are some main steps. In these main steps we have 2 electrons that are needed at each of the steps, and also the electron which is supplied, which is required at each step, is supplied by the NADH and NADPH. Let's move forward. So this is the complete process in which the conversion of nitrogen takes place. So we have 3 main processes, that is ammonification, nitrification and the denitrification. So talking about the ammonification, in which we have the organic nitrogen getting converted into the ammonia, that is N2 getting converted into NH 4 plus. Remember that the plants cannot obtain this nitrogen which is present in this form in the atmosphere. So there occurs a conversion in the form of NH4 plus by the help of the ammonifying organisms, and finally it leads to the formation of this reduced form which is actually taken up by the plants. We have the process of nitrification, which is an oxidation process, and the previous process, that is the ammonification, was a reductive or a reduction process. Make sure we remember this oxidative and reductive process points, because many a times statement type questions are asked from this information. So in nitrification, which is an oxidation process, there occurs the conversion of ammonium ions into the nitrates. And from where do we have got this ammonium? From the ammonification reaction, that is the previous reaction. So in nitrification, we have the ammonium ion getting initially converted into NO2 minus, and then this NO2 minus gets converted into NO3 minus. Make sure you remember the organisms that help in this conversion. So in the conversion of ammonium ion into the nitrite, we have nitrosomonas acting or helping, and then in the conversion of nitrite into nitrate, we have nitrobator helping in this process. And then we have the next process, that is the denitrification, which is an anaerobic condition process, means it occurs in the absence of oxygen, and it occurs by the help of the denitrifying bacteria, and the examples are Pseudomonas and Paracoccus denitrificans. So in the conversion or in the process of denitrification, we have the steps of nitrate converting into nitrite, which is a reverse form of the nitrification, as we can make out from the term itself. First we have nitrification, and then there occurs a reversal of the nitrification, that is conversion of the nitrate into the final dinitrogen, that is the N2, which we call in the molecular form. So in denitrification, which is an anaerobic process, there occurs NO3 minus getting converted into initially nitrite, that is NO2 minus, and NO2 minus with subsequent steps gets converted into NO, N2O, and finally the N2, that is the dinitrogen. Make sure you remember all the reducing or all the organisms that are helping. I have marked the most important organisms that we need to remember. You need not to remember the organisms helping in these processes, because it is not of much importance. So let's move forward. So this is how the complete nitrification, denitrification, that is in simple words the nitrogen cycle works. So let's just go through it once. We have the nitrogen in the atmosphere, which is in the form of N2. So this cannot be taken up by the plants as it is. So there must occur some conversion processes for the plants to take up this nitrogen. So we have the nitrogen fixation. First we have the bacteria in the plant roots and also the soil bacteria. And these bacteria help in the conversion of the dinitrogen or the N2 into the ammonium, which by the help of nitrification, as we have just discussed, gets converted into nitrite, then nitrate, and these nitrate by the help of the denitrifying bacteria convert it back to the dinitrogen. And on the other hand, we have the nitrates taken up by the help of nitrifying bacteria into nitrate, which gets assimilated or which gets used up by the plants, and these plants are eaten by the animals, and when these animals die, we have the nitrogen containing organic compounds finally back into the soil by the help of decomposers, and these decomposers convert these nitrates into the ammonium, and the same process continues. It is not difficult, we have understood it in the previous classes also. So just go through it once and you would remember it, or you would understand this concept very easily. Let's move forward and understand about the biological nitrogen fixation. So it is the conversion of the molecular nitrogen, that is the N2 or the dinitrogen of the atmosphere, into the inorganic nitrogenous compound, which is taken up by the plants for all the processes that is helping the plant to perform. So when the nitrogen fixation occurs through the living organisms, that is when the nitrogen or when the dinitrogen is getting fixed by the help of the living organisms that we have just studied, like the Pseudomonas or the Paracoccus denitrificans or any other organism, then it would be known as the biological nitrogen fixation. So let's understand about the sections of nitrogen fixation in nature. So by the help of biological nitrogen fixation, about 90% of nitrogen get fixed, and by lightning and the UV radiation, about 10% in total. By the help of natural processes, the nitrogen gets fixed in the atmosphere. So let's move forward and understand about a simple and an important topic, that is Haber-Bosch process. So let's just have an overview of this process. So Haber-Bosch process, it is an industrial chemical process for the ammonia production, and it occurs at elevated temperature and high pressure. Means the conditions at which this process occurs is, first we have elevated temperature and also the high pressure. And in this process what happens is that it directly combines the nitrogen from the air with hydrogen under extremely high pressure and moderately high temperatures. Let us understand this by the help of the equation of Haber-Bosch process. So in this we have nitrogen plus hydrogen directly getting combined together in the presence of elevated temperature and high pressure, getting converted into the ammonia, that is NH3. And the catalyst that helps in this process is K2O, CaO, SiO2 and Al2O3. Do not rote memorize all this, just make sure you have a knowledge of this process also. So the last point to remember is that iron promoted with K2O, CaO and other subsequents. Earlier molybdenum was also used as a promoter, that is initially in the previous time molybdenum was also used as a promoter in this process. Let's move forward and understand about the nitrogen fixing organisms. So only some organisms have the capacity to fix the nitrogen, and when we categorize these organisms, we have the free living and the symbiotic. So we have two categories of organisms that help to convert the nitrogen, that helps to fix the nitrogen in the atmosphere. In the free living form also we have two main subtypes, that is autotrophic and heterotrophic. In this we have some examples. Make sure you remember these examples. So in case of aerobic we have nostoc, and in case of anaerobic we have rhodospirillum, and in case of heterotrophic we have aerobic as Zotobator and the facultative as the Bacillus and the anaerobic as the Clostridium. And when we talk about the symbiotic organisms, we have root nodules and the other ones. So let's move forward and understand about the fixation. So in the mechanism of fixation, the most important point to remember is that it occurs in the symbiotic association. And what is a symbiotic association? We have understood it by the help of the example of lichens, in which the algae plus the fungi were living together to form the lichen, and both of were mutually benefiting each other. So in case of fixation also we have a case of symbiotic association, in which we have the host as the plant and the bacteria as the second member. So to the host the bacterium provides NH3, that is the ammonia, and to the bacteria, the host, that is the plant, it gives out the carbohydrates. Means the plant provides food, in simple words, to the bacteria and also shelter. And when we talk about the carbohydrates, the succinate, malate and fumarate is provided. And from where does this plant get all these resources? It gets by the help of the TCA cycle, about which we have learned in detail. So you must be remembering that in the TCA cycle we have these products as a part of the TCA cycle. So in the TCA cycle, when these products are formed, these products are given to the bacteria as the exchange material in case of the symbiotic association. So we can see in the figure, the plant provides the sugar, that is the carbohydrates, and the bacteria helps the plant to fix the nitrogen and to take up the nitrogen from the atmosphere in the desirable form. Let's move forward and understand about the requirements for this nitrogen fixation. So for this nitrogen fixation, we require 4 main important things, that is nitrogenase, that is present in the nitrogen fixing prokaryotes. So nitrogenase is a type of a enzyme which is used by the bacteria for the conversion. Then we require ATP, that is the energy. We also require proton and ferredoxin. Ferredoxin is a very important requirement, make sure you remember this, and this ferredoxin is used as a reducing equivalent. Let's move forward. So this is the complete basic equation of the nitrogen fixation. So we have the dinitrogen plus 8 hydrogen atoms, we have 8 protons and 16 ATPs getting converted into 2 NH3, H2, 16 ADPs and 16 PI, that is inorganic phosphate. So this is the complete reaction, and make sure you remember how many ATPs are used, because one question has been asked from part B from this topic. Let's move forward and understand about the nitrogenase, that is the most important enzyme which is helping in this fixing process. So nitrogenase is a enzyme complex, that is it have some subcomponents also. So it have mainly 2 metalloproteins, that is first we have the iron protein, that is Fe protein, and also we have FeMO, that is iron molybdenum protein. So Fe protein component is known as azoferredoxin and FeMO protein component is known as molybdenoferredoxin. Make sure you remember these names. Azoferredoxin component is smaller, it is sensitive to oxygen, and when we talk about its structure, it is a 4 Fe and 4 S structure, that is we have 4 iron and 4 sulfur in the structure of this subcomponent. And when we talk about the second component, which is molybdenoferredoxin, it is a larger component which have 2 different peptides, that is 2 alpha and 2 beta, which makes it a tetramer, and it is sensitive to oxygen. So we can see that both the components are sensitive to oxygen. So this makes us understand one more point, that nitrogenase works in anaerobic condition. And why? Because both of its component or both of its subcomponents are sensitive to oxygen. They cannot work in the presence of oxygen. So the note here is that the biological nitrogen fixation requires anaerobic condition, as I have just explained. Why? Because the nitrogenase is sensitive to the oxygen. And why it is sensitive? Because both of its subcomponents are sensitive to oxygen, and hence nitrogenase requires anaerobic conditions for the working. Second note to remember is that hydrogenase enzyme is also found in some rhizobia, and this hydrogenase enzyme helps to split the hydrogen into 2 electrons and 2 hydrogen atoms. It is not found in all nitrogen fixing bacteria, but in some of them. But if it is present, if it is found, then it helps to increase the efficiency, because it is helping to provide more electrons and more hydrogens in the process, which is nothing but helping to increase the efficiency of the nitrogen fixation. So now let's look at the root nodule formation in the leguminous plant. Before starting this topic, let us just have a complete review. So we have the plant which cannot take up itself the organic nitrogen present in the atmosphere. So it requires some bacteria, some nitrogen fixing bacteria to help it to have the nitrogen from the atmosphere gets converted into the ammonium form, and so that it could take up this nitrogen and use it for its growth and development. But now we will understand that this bacteria is helping this plant to have the nitrogen and use it for its growth. But how does this bacteria goes to or get near this plant and start the process? This occurs by the help of the formation of the root nodules. So till now we have understood that what is nitrogen, how the nitrogen get fixed, what bacteria are used, and what is the association or what is the relationship between the plant and the bacteria. But now we would understand the final step, the intermediate step, that okay, we have this bacteria, but how will this reach to this plant? How will it attach to this plant so that this complete mechanism could start? This occurs by the help of the root nodule formation, and that is the reason why we are studying this topic under the complete big topic that we are dealing today. So let's start this topic now. So we have the formation of the root nodules in the leguminous plants. In this, majorly we have the rhizobium working, which is a free living bacteria before the infection. Why we are calling it infection? Because this bacteria would be actually infecting its root. We are calling it infection, but this infection is beneficial. This infection is fruitful for the plant. Some important points regarding the rhizobium bacteria is that it is a gram-negative bacteria. It is motile, that is, it could move by itself by the help of some flagellas. It is rod shape, and also it is a proteobacteria. The last point to remember is that Rick Edison is present on the surface that have a most important role in the plant bacterium attachment. Make sure you remember all these points because statement wise question have been asked from this area. So make sure you remember this. The last point to remember is that the rhizobium have the nod genes. Remember small n, not the capital one. Why I am focusing on this, you will understand it in the next slide. Let's move forward. So we have the genes involved in the root nodule formation, and there are majorly two genes involved. First one is the host specific, and then we have the rhizobial specific genes. The host in this complete process is the plant that we are talking about, that is the leguminous plant, and we have the rhizobium bacteria. So we have the rhizobial specific genes. So in the host specific genes we have capital N OD genes, that is nod genes, which are also known as nodulin genes, and the rhizobial specific genes are the small n nod genes, that is the nodulation gene. So now you must have understood that why did I focus on this small n, because the genes of both the host and the rhizobial have the same name, only the way of representation is different. That is, we have capital N in case of the host and small n in case of the rhizobium. The way you can remember is that the plant is bigger in size, so it have capital N, and the rhizobia or the bacteria are very small in size. So by this mnemonics or by this trick you could remember that rhizobium specific genes have small NOD genes and capital NOD genes are in the host specific genes. So in case of the small n, so this small n belongs to the rhizobium, that is the bacteria which we are talking about. So the nod genes are of two types. Make sure you remember this slide, very important, because many times questions have been asked both in part B and in part C as well. So make sure you remember them. So we have two main type of nod genes, that is the common nod genes and the host specific genes. The common nod genes are nod A, nod B and nod C, and the host specific genes are nod P, Q, E, F, H and DL. It is not difficult to remember, just make sure you remember the common ones, which is A, B and C. Rest the other ones are the host specific. Do not mug up, just have a mnemonics and you would remember it. The common nod genes are needed for the synthesis of the nodulation factor, that is small NOD. Let's understand all this. The last point to remember is that nod factors are lipo, chitin, ligosaccharides. I have split the terms because it is important that we remember it. So nod factor are of this nature. Let's look at the products of the nod genes. So on the left hand side we have the genes of bacteria, and on the right hand side we have the genes of the plant. So the nod A leads to the production of capital NODA, capital nod A. Small nod B helps in production of capital nod B. Small nod C leads to production of capital nod C. Their chemical name, that is, nod A is known as N-acetyl transferase, nod B is known as chitin oligosaccharide deacetylase, and nod C is known as chitin oligosaccharide synthase. So let's look at the nod genes, that is capital N. So must be belonging to the plant or the host. So these nod genes induces root hair curling, and why it is important we will understand it by the stepwise manner in the next slide. And also these nod genes trigger the plant cell division. We have nod A, nod B and nod C. All of these have some specific functions. These were the chemical names. So following these chemical name we have the important functions of them. Nod A catalyzes the addition of the fatty acyl chain. Nod B removes the acetyl group from the terminal non-reducing sugar, and nod C links the monomers. So this is the area from which you have to understand this process, that is the steps of the root nodule formation. So we have 6 major steps, that is, the first step is that the rhizobia, which is the free living organism before the infection. Then we have the exchange of the signal between the plant and the bacteria. Then we have the formation of infection thread. Then we have the cortical thread formation. After that we have enlargement, and finally the group of bacteria which are known as bacteroids that are surrounded by a membrane which is known as a peribacterioid membrane. This is a very important point because once a question has been asked from this point in part B. So make sure you remember that what is bacterioid and what is peribacterioid membrane. So let's understand the process. So we have main steps as, firstly we have the attachment, and by attachment we have the nod genes attachment, or we can say the nod genes get activated. And after the activation we have the dissolution or the dissolving of the membrane of the roots of the plant so that the bacteria could enter. The bacteria enters the root hair. Then we have the formation of the infection thread, that is the bacteria enters the plant. This is the path it follows. Initially it enters the root and finally it reaches the cortex and it forms a membrane around itself which is known as a peribacterioid membrane, and finally the root nodule is formed. So this is the complete process. This is the complete way in which the complete process takes place. So initially we have the root hairs that releases some chemicals to attract the free living organism, that is the rhizobium, and after the chemical signals get exchanged between them, then the rhizobium proliferates, that is it increases its number and it causes an infection thread to form. There occurs the formation of infection thread, and this infection thread then grows from the root into the cortex, and then we have the infection thread that is formed by the bacteria, which helps to release the bacterial cells into the roots of the plant, which becomes the bacteroids, and these bacteroids now surround themselves by the membrane called as peribacterioid membrane, and now there occurs that nod factors from the bacteria causes the cortical cells to divide. As you can see in the figure also, just understand the figure and just try to visualize it. It is very easy and very important also. Make sure you remember it and make sure you understand it. So you can see the root tip. This root tip have some signals released, and after the release of the signals there are these rhizobia, and after both of them gets the signals attached, we have the formation of infection thread. Then there occurs migration, infection thread grows, and then these bacteria from the root goes into the cortex, and finally there occurs the formation of the bacteroids, which get surrounded by the peribacterioid membrane, and this is how the complete root nodule formation takes place. The root nodules of the leguminous plants have a red pigment which is known as a leg hemoglobin, and this leg hemoglobin have two important parts, that is, one is the heme part and one is the globin part. So the heme part is synthesized by the bacterial genome and the globin part is synthesized by the host membrane, and after the synthesis of the parts by the individual members, there occurs finally the formation of the leg hemoglobin, which is very important, and this is the oxygen binding heme protein. It occurs in the cytosol, and this is the reason why the nodule present in the plant actually appears reddish pink, because of the presence of the leg hemoglobin in the root nodules of the leguminous plant. So with this we are done with all the process of the nitrogen fixation, root nodule formation, all the important related points to the same. I have tried to cover every single detail of this related to this topic in this video. So I hope this video was helpful for you, and if you like this video, please do like, share it with your friends, and please subscribe to my channel, and I'll be coming up very soon with the next video as well. So thank you so much for watching, and till then, goodbye.